From an Italian version of Las Vegas called City of Toys to a sinister park located next to a cult and suicide forest, these are 5 insane theme parks that ended in disaster. 1. The Hard Rock Theme Park. The famous Hard Rock Cafe tried to expand the business model, creating the first rock and roll theme park back in 2008. The park was located on a whopping 50 acres just outside of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. One of the first things people saw when they walked through the gates was a huge sculpture of an electric guitar that stood over 90 feet tall in the middle of the park. This gigantic guitar towered over the entry plaza, which were made to look like the buildings on the cover of legendary rock album Hotel California. The park seemed like a slam dunk for the developers. From ridges like a large steel roller coaster to restaurants to gift shops, the park offered an immersive experience full of hidden gems for rock and roll fans all around the world. The park was valued at a whopping $400 million when it first opened, but just 5 months later, they filed for bankruptcy due to the 2008 financial crisis. It was later sold for $25 million in 2009 to new owners who tried to revive the park but failed, and after just 1 season, it permanently shut down later that year. Multiple offers to buy the park poured in, but it wasn't until 2018 that it sold once again for just $3.5 million. Sadly, the new owners haven't spoken out about their plans for that land, so for now, the Hard Rock Park is nothing but a $400 million disaster. 2. Nara Dreamland. The year is 1961 and a Disneyland-inspired theme park is set to open in Nara, Japan under the name Dreamland. It featured its own version of Disney's Main Street, Tomorrowland, Fantasyland, and a lot of similar attractions. In fact, the park was so heavily inspired by Disney that the entrance looked nearly identical. To no surprise, Nara Dreamland was incredibly popular for a while, and at its peak, it had over 1.6 million visitors. In efforts to brand themselves further away from Disney, the park started building their own attractions over the years. The park was thriving, and parkgoers were happy, but that happiness was short-lived when Disneyland and Universal Studios heard how much success they were having and decided to open up their own parks in the area. Unfortunately, Nara Dreamland couldn't compete with the two entertainment giants and had to shut down permanently in 2006. Although the cost of this failed theme park is unknown, it was sold for $6 million in 2018, more than likely for a staggering loss. 3. Gulliver's Kingdom. Gulliver's Kingdom was a $350 million failure located in the shadows of Mount Fuji, Japan. Located next to the suicide forest, some people said it had a dark, sinister vibe that plagued the park. As if that wasn't enough, the park's other neighbors were much, much worse. The Aum Shinrikyo Doomsday Cult, a group known for committing massive gas killings, neighbored the park, constantly reminding the parkgoers that death was just around the corner. Things got even creepier when the park made a 145-foot-long statue of Gulliver, of the famous children's book Gulliver's Travels, tied down with open eyes and a scared look on its face. Surprisingly, all this didn't scare away everyone, because the park remained open for 10 years after its construction. But in 2001, the park became unpopular and shut its doors permanently. Later, in 2007, the park was demolished, leaving behind an ominous wasteland that was once a place of joy and laughter. 4. The Bongoland Ruins. This strange and funny-looking theme park located in Port Orange, Florida, was the vision of Dr. Perry Sperber, author of Sex and the Dinosaur. Clearly obsessed with a vision for a prehistoric theme park, Dr. Sperber leased the land in the 1940s, which he intended to fill with life-size dinosaur attractions. And so he did. Sperber commissioned life-size beasts out of chicken wire and concrete to recreate dinosaurs that towered over the very few tourists that actually visited this strange park. To make the theme park more appealing, at least in his eyes, he highlighted the park's historic sugar mill ruins that sat in the land originally, alongside live animals, which included his personal pet baboon and miniature train. The park inevitably closed after 5 years and was replaced with a beautiful botanical garden. To this day, you can still see some of its life-size dinosaur sculptures still standing. And finally, 5. The City of Toys. Back in the 60s, Italy was going through an economic boom. This meant that things looked good for aspiring entrepreneurs ready to bring their visions to life. Mario Bagno was one of these ambitious entrepreneurs who had the idea to completely destroy the small rural town of Consonno and turn it into a theme park. Heavily inspired by Las Vegas, Mario wanted to include shopping malls, restaurants, ballrooms, luxury hotels, and even had plans to build a zoo. Driven by this vision, Mario knocked on people's houses and shops, offering to buy them in order to make his dream come true. He started knocking down everything, leaving behind only a few houses and the local church. Now, the City of Toys could start constructions. However, in the midst of all of this, Italy's thriving economy began to slow down a lot. And to make matters worse, right before the city was finished, the main road leading to Consonno was washed away by a flood, killing any access to the city. Today, the abandoned buildings remain as a reminder of a man's vision that never came to life. So tell us, which project do you think was the biggest disaster? Let us know in the comments below and make sure to subscribe.